sorry, that was my really poor impression of the Demiurge. Squawk, squawk, fellow sorrowers. I thought I'd say now, because I haven't actually mentioned it, I like to keep my word, and as I've always told you all, I will never lie to you. Back in the day, in my earliest videos, I always said I wouldn't have a catchphrase or anything like that. Squawk, squawk, fellow sorrowers is the best you're going to get. It's just my way of saying hello. Also, I mean, part of why I chose the name Sorrow the Magpie was because I felt alone in this, and I now realise I'm not. That makes you my fellow sorrowers. And the stupid faces I put at the beginning of my videos is just to try and heighten the vibration of the low vibration in which I usually, the subjects and topics and matters that I analyse and dissect and cover. Not only for you, for your benefit, mainly yours, but also for my own. I'm still learning, which neatly, tidily brings me to the point of this video. I wanted to quickly go over and summarise the difference between the creator and the Demiurge, which is the main aspect of my research since I started my channel. It broke my heart to realise how much deception is in religion. The Old Testament, New Testament, don't get me wrong, a lot of truth in it. There's a lot of truth, but there's just as many lies, unfortunately. Okay, even down to something as simple as the titles. You have to remember, we are merely human. Now, when I say that, I don't mean that we are merely a lower specimen, a lower life form. We're not. We're actually above the rest. Now, that's not an egotistical thing, it's just true. That's where hate comes from. Hate is born and birthed from envy. Yeah? Earth is an anagram for heart for a reason, as I've said before. We are humans. We are the light, the real light, not the false, right? Nonetheless, all books are written by man, so that would include the Bible, yeah? Words like God, Jesus, even Satan, these words come from the idea and the ideals of man, right? Which is why I don't use the word God. I use Jesus, but only to save time. I don't use the word Christ. Christ is Christo. Christo is oil. Oil is blood. They've done this deliberately. Same with God. But this is my point when I say merely human. What human as open-minded as I know you are, if you're listening to this, would believe for a second that we would know the true name of the Creator, which is why I use that term, the Creator, instead. You have to remember, God can be used in different ways. You have God, you have gods, you have demigods. Just a word that they've put in place for us to use, and every time we use it, we are giving our energy over to the other, the Demiurge. Okay, now when I started my channel, I had no idea what the Demiurge was. Armageddon consciousness taught me what the Demiurge is. So look him up. Trust me, he knows. He knows his shit. Okay. Hopefully you do too already. But I didn't. And I still don't. I know more than I did, which is what this is partly about, as I said. But I'm still learning, and that's the point. That's the point. That's the difference too, one of them. You see, the Creator doesn't want you to worship it. I'm going to say it. I believe it to be more of a masculine force, as I'll get into, but I'm going to use the word it. The Creator does not want you to worship it. It does not want you to sacrifice anything to it. Makes no sense, right? Does that make sense to you? An all loving, all forgiving, all understanding, all knowing force. See, if I finish a sentence there, that's beautiful, right? It's benevolent. It's pure. It's true. It's clear and it's clean, right? But if I add on to the end of it that wants you to worship it, all loving, all forgiving, all nurturing, all understanding force that wants you to worship it, wants you to sacrifice to it, wants you to kill in its name, and it contradicts itself too. Do you see how that makes no sense? Do you see that there is a polar opposite? Do you see that? Destroyed me when I realised this. But yeah, the God that most worship is it's not the Creator, it's the Demiurge. You have to understand. I mean, again, it's all there for anyone to see. You know, you can cut it down to a basic premise of, okay, even it's what, alright, God, as I said, don't use the word, same as devil. God is good, devil is evil, right? All you've got to do is put an extra O in God and a D on the beginning of evil. It's all deliberate, it's all planned. Anyway, this is basic child's play by this point, I'd imagine, for you. I've mentioned this before, but I'll just say it to back the point up before I get to the main one. The true Creator would never say I am, okay? I am. Pure narcissism, right? A true Creator wouldn't contradict itself and say I'm a jealous God, and yet tell us that it's a sin to envy, right? I could go on, but I'm just giving you the basic ones, okay? A true Creator wouldn't make the mistakes through creation, right? I say this in terms of sin getting so out of hand from the sinners that of course were created by the Creator, therefore we were designed to sin, and for it to get to a point where we had to be wiped out, washed out, the flood, right? You see this? That's not the Creator. That's the Demiurge. That's the Demiurge. So I started in studying, in my research, and come to a conclusion that the evil that has victimized and traumatized almost every single fucking one of us come from Satan. And it does, but it's not as simple as that. It's just not. So I'm trying to decrypt some of my research here, because some of it overlaps and even confuses me at times. Like I mentioned Machine Mummy Mean, which would be an artificial intelligence, right? made up of the unholy trinity, which would be Satan, Lilith and Eve. Yeah? I still stick by that. At the same time, okay, I'll explain why I stick to that, even now. What's the one thing, again, back to basic levels for a moment, what's the one thing that we know about Satan? What's the one tool that he uses the most? Deception, right? Okay. As they say, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled is convincing the world that he doesn't exist. Okay. So then, by that implication, everything, as we know from Saturnian worship, everything's inverted, everything's opposite, yeah? Inside out, upside down, left is right, right is left. Boom, 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 yeah? So, Satan would, in my opinion, and I consider it to be quite obvious, it would take the opposite form of whatever it already knows, right? I mean, okay, so let's, whether you do or you don't, we'll use this for a moment. Okay, so if Jesus was, I'm not going to say God, I'm sorry, if Jesus was the Creator's Son and Lucifer was the first of the angels, the right hand man, the first lieutenant of the Creator, right? That would make Lucifer a sibling, a kin, a brother to Jesus, right? I don't know about you, but you can see him in the background. My father died when I was 5, and it's been very hard to grow up and become a man without any any influence, any standard, any example of how to be a man. Surely that would be the same for Lucifer, right? So he's got to go on. It's all he would have to go on. So what would Lucifer do? He would not only, because he can't create, I use Lucifer because we're speaking of when he was, okay, before he becomes Satan. All he can do is copy, rewrite, yeah. So, yeah, imitate, replicate. So what would be the opposite of the father? It'd be the mother, right? See where I'm going with this? What would the opposite of the masculine be? The feminine. And that's why I say, I mean, there's other things that would back that research up. Even as far back as ancient Babylon, the tablets quote that Lucifer was a feminine force that opened Pandora's box and unleashed evil upon the world. So, yeah. Lucifer opposites everything, right? Satan opposites everything, so he'd be the mother rather than the father, you see. So that's where Machine Mummy Mean comes from. But yeah, let's do a little bit of psychology, psychopathology, psychopathy on the Demiurge, and then we'll move on to the Creator, and I'll do my best to portray, display and convey the difference. Okay? The Demiurge has no internal core. Okay? I call it the warden. It's the warden to this prison, right, that we're in. It has no internal core. It's like fire, which I'd imagine, that's where the connection to hell comes from. Fire is one of the most powerful, destructive, ferocious elements that we know of, right? and yet it has no internal core. Fire is essentially parasitical. It needs fuel. Yeah? Well, what happens? It burns out. Demiurge feeds off us, or it will starve. It needs attention, and it needs to be followed. You know, as I said, if you look at the psychology of it, it really does add up. This is not a biblical thing. I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, as I always say. There is a massive difference, almost as different as the Demiurge and the Creator are from each other. Yeah, so it needs our attention. That's why making my icon sculptures took it out of me so much. But the Demiurge needs to be noticed, it needs to be followed, it needs to be worshipped, and more than anything else it needs us to follow in its footsteps, because that's all it knows. There's the psychology aspect of it. It only knows the one true creator, so it copies it. You see that? It rewrites it, it mimics it, and it replicates it. It wants us to do the same thing in its image, you see? Green Wizard calls it a crybaby. It is a crybaby, absolutely. It has to get its own way, one way or another, and it doesn't care how. Because it's parasitical in nature. It's where the Ouroboros comes from. It also wants everything. Everything. A lot of people believe it wants nothing. Like the idea of Satan being nihilistic, doesn't care. Oh, no, I don't believe it. I'm sorry, I don't believe that. Well, I use Satan because I'm trying to save time. However you want to put it, the Demiurge, Machine Mummy Mean, the Unholy Trinity, Satan. It's not that it doesn't care, in my opinion. I believe it cares more than, probably more than we do. Doesn't have a heart, doesn't have a soul, but it's got a mind. And it's got a body, but it's got many of them. Hence why there's so many names. Hence why it's tricked so many religions into all this bloodshed over the exact same parasitic, narcissistic, psychopathic cancer. It cares. Think of the hate that it has for us. The envy, as I said, envy comes from hatred. It can't stand the fact that we were chosen over it. So it cares, it really cares, truly cares. It's rejected, it's exiled, it's banished. Do you understand now? You're getting why it's so cruel to us. It uses our emotions against us. Our heart chakra. It plays on our heartstrings with its own strings. It uses words like love and devotion to fool us into thinking, not feeling, thinking that if we don't accept, then we are exactly what it is. Lifeless, soulless. It uses that empathy against us because it's the main weapon we have against it. It's clever, it's crafty, it's snide. Give me one moment. Okay, sorry about that. I wanted to get my mindset straight and my heart set straight so I can deliver this information correctly, because it's already hit 20 minutes. I'm sorry for those of you that are still tuned in if I've digressed. What it basically comes down to, as I said, is psychology. It really does. It's as basic and simple as empathy and psychopathy. The creator is pure empathy. Just like you and I. We have evil in us, in the sense of the capability of it. But every single time you and I choose to not act on an evil impulse, it strengthens us and it brings us closer to the creator. Okay, so if you struggle to find that connection, because it's a connection, as I always say, rather than communication. I think that's part of the Demiurge teachings. It wants you to communicate through prayer and all this. Even I've gone through all this, I don't want to repeat myself, but just look at it, look at the common sense of it. Common sense, psychology and intuition. That's all you need to connect with the one true creator. That's all you need. So let's dissect it now. Okay. The common sense side of it, yeah, would be, for example, to connect with the creator rather than communicate, because the communication, right, comes from shutting your eyes, putting your hands together. Some people look up, don't they, and they pray, and they start with a sermon, they end with a sermon. Dear Lord, Lord, again, the word Lord, not good. We shouldn't be using the word Lord or God or even Jesus. Doesn't take anything away from what we know to be true and what we feel to be true. It doesn't take it away. It's a name, but it's a name that the Saturnians have put in place. Do you understand? Even the word understand, I was going through this with Joy the other day. Understand, yeah, to stand under what someone's saying. Yeah, I understand. And I say it a lot in my videos, especially my old ones. I always say, do you understand? Do you understand? I'm not asking if you understand what I'm telling you, what I'm trying to teach you. I say it all the time because I'm asking you if you stand under this shit that I'm teaching you. That's why I also say, if you fear it, then you'll know it. It'll lead you, it'll guide you. You don't need to understand, you don't need to stand under anyone or anything, and that's what this monstrosity wants you to do. To understand, to stand under it. So I say it, do you understand? I hope not. Don't don't obey. You don't have to defy either, in the sense of another thing that broke my heart is when I come to the painful realization that resistance is assistance. Yeah, it's all part of the cycle. They need us to act, they need us, you know, I want to say this the right way. So I don't come in with anything planned. I have a subject matter, and that's how I start my videos. I think that's the best way, you know. It's why I don't give my name, but I show my face, because I want you to see me. I want you to see my eyes, my windows, my soul. And I can't see you, but knowing that you're watching and listening is a connection, isn't it, in itself? You see? Do you understand? Okay, so common sense, as I was saying, sorry again to digress, would be something as basic and simple as a prayer. Why do you need to shut your eyes and put your hands together and say what you have to say based on what you feel, right or wrong, good or bad? Why do you have to do it in that way? Why do you, if you do, why do you pray in that way? It's because you've been taught it, right? You've been programmed to do it, indoctrinated to do it. The Creator knows, feels, hears and sees everything that you and I do, say, think and feel. You don't need to do this. Look, right now, look. See? Just that in itself. You might not know what I prayed for right then. Even the word pray, there's a reason why it's the word pray. I'm sure you can figure it out. All our language, all our culture, all our religion, it's all been tailored to feed the Demiurge. It gathers energy from this stuff, the same way it gathers energy every time you say, oh my God, or Jesus Christ. It's been made that way. It's been tailored that way. I was going to say invent, but this thing can't invent. It can't invent. How many people mock and ridicule the idea of God, of Jesus? I'm using the words deliberately here. And they see it to be Bible bashing, cookie cutting, you know, preaching. Again, it's deliberate. It's deliberate. Because it sways and strays others, people, humans like you and I, true human beings, away from that connection. Yeah, stay away from words like an ideal, a concept, a construct in regards to religion. That's the problem, you see. So, okay, we've covered common sense, yeah. You don't need to do this. You just, if you feel it, if this creator is exactly what we feel, why would you need to do all this to make that connection? It's already there. It's already there. You know when you when you see someone, whether you know them or not, and you see someone in pain, you see someone suffering, traumatized, victimized, that feeling that you get, and it fucking hurts so much. You wouldn't be feeling that if you didn't have that connection already. You see? So, I mean, another thing that sways and strays people away, I've covered this before but I'll mention it again just quick, is I mean, what's the main one? If there's a God, how can he see? Even that, what gives us the right to believe that not only we'd know the true name of the creator, but also that it would be a he? I mean, she is based on do you see where I'm going with this? This force, lack of a better, see, even that don't do it justice, let alone the fucking word God. Why would it be a he or a she? We're based on its image, right? But they've flipped it so that we base it on our image. You see that? We base this force on our image. It's a he, it's a she. That's what I'm talking about when I say common sense, yeah? But it's not common, is it? This sense is not common. It should be, but it's not. Most will never ever get this, and that hurts too. But all your hurt, all your pain, all your suffering, when you know this, these elements of truth, just remember, as much as they fucking kill you inside, at least you feel it. At least you feel that. That's part of the connection. That's truth. Truth is indiscriminate in that sense. You know? So, as I said, 3 elements: common sense, common sense, intuition, and psychology. So intuition being the second one. Your intuition states a lot. So, okay, so for example, best example off the top of my head, right? I guess this plays into the third one anyway, third element being psychology. You have to, I tell you, we'll do psychology first. We'll do the psychology element. Okay, so take your basic sensibilities of, empathy and psychopathy, right? So you have to consider the fact, and it is a fact, that psychopaths don't they don't think what they're doing is bad. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's not a sin to them. It's not malevolent, right? Which is why they can do the things they do. So, if you break that down, the Demiurge would be the source of psychopathy, the source of narcissism, the source of every sin, and in particular the source of deception, right? Where do you think this comes from? It's a teaching. Coming back to Lucifer before he becomes Satan, he was the first, right? So he saw what the creator created, and he mimicked that, he replicated that. So when he becomes Satan, he based all of what he feels and what he thinks on us. When he was Lucifer, he was the light bearer. That means, in regards to light, it was bringing enlightenment, testing us. Satan, Demiurge, Machine Mummy Mean. Same shit, different toilet, yeah? But that psychopathy is there. It always was and it always will be. This thing is empty, hungry, greedy. You know, it's also scared. Especially now. Why do you think all this shit is happening all at once to all of us? It's clutching at straws. It doesn't have any time left. It's scared, it's petrified, it's horrified, it's terrified. Because it knows without us, without this connection, it can't communicate what it has to put upon us anymore. It needs us. It really needs us. It's a parasite, and it's pretending to be the creator because it's all it knows. It will do everything. See, not anything. Like I said, its nature is nihilistic, but it does care. A lot of people say, you know, it's. I said it. I just said it, didn't I? I said it's empty. It's hungry. It's greedy. It is because it cares. Because it knows. It doesn't feel, but it knows that it needs sustenance, nutrients. Us. It's deliberately put the average population into a disposition of, as I said before, you know, how can God kill, you know, children the moment, you know, in the cot as soon as they're born? How can he allow rape and murder and lies and blah 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 blah? It's all put in place to make human beings lose faith. What's the main one? The main one, as I said before, how can a God allow that? You have to understand, if God was to stop the sins committed upon you and I, past, present or future, it would be breaking, dismantling, tarnishing and tainting the very nature of empathy, it would there'd be no free will. Does that make sense? So we were given free will. What makes you think that the angels weren't given free will? That's why the creator can't stop the Demiurge. It can. Of course it can. But if it was to do it, it would be the same. It would be doing exactly what the Demiurge does to us. Contradicts. Everything it stands for. That's why. I mean, that seems obvious to me, going back to common sense, but that's the big one, isn't it, that people go to. How can a God allow this? That's why. It's not allowing it. It's not about allowing it. It's not permission or admission. It's working on an emotion that we will never understand with this, only with this. And you only understand it with this by being honest. The more honest you are with yourself and with others, the more connected you will become. But there's your psychology. It's really as simple as that. If you look up the main psychopathic traits, there's your Demiurge. You look up the main empathic traits, there's your creator. It's not a he, it's not a she. It's beyond that, it's above that. Even in that context, heaven's above, hell's below. I've gone over this too. We're taught this by other human beings, and we are human beings. We've been taught this, if you can fucking call them human beings. There's so much that we have access to within ourselves rather than out. There's I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep stopping and stuttering and stammering. I find this to be a very important subject and I want to get it right, and I know this video is going on, but like, heaven and hell is within us. It's internal, it's not external. You know, it's based and placed on our beliefs, our faith. You have to understand, once again, faith goes both ways. It's not just having, this is what religion's done to us. You can have, it's trained us into believing that belief can only reside in something higher than us. Yeah. But you have to remember, you can believe in yourself, you can believe in others. Where does hope come from? Why do we have that? How does that benefit us? It doesn't give you what you're hoping to receive, does it? But we have it anyway. You see? The Creator wants Remember what I said about everything and anything? Evil wants everything. It's not a case of anything, it's a case of everything. Yeah, it's empty, it's hungry, it's greedy. But that's exactly the point, because it wants everything. It wants good as well as evil. That's what it pretends to be, and that's why it believes it is. Back to the psychopathy, you see? Doesn't believe what it's doing is wrong. It believes what it's doing is righteous, which is why it's so determined. Whereas the Creator, as I said, is pure empathy. Every single time we doubt ourselves, we're doubting it. And every single time we doubt it, we're doubting ourselves. And it breaks its heart. I say it, and I don't like using that, but I don't think he or she does it justice, you know. As Green Wizard said, Earth is an organism. Earth is it's the womb. It's our womb. It's the true mother. You see what I mean? But we're destroying it. We're disintegrating it. We're decimating it. See, that's where the other side comes in. You know, the idea of a matrix, a cellular Earth, a holographic universe. If there really truly is a simulation that's taking place here, which I believe there is, that's not to say that the Earth isn't here and we're not in it and on it and from it. A simulation, again, is what? It holds the same nature as evil. It copies, it rewrites, it assimilates, it replicates. So the simulation is still real, but it's put upon the organic. The artificial lays upon it. The digital lays upon the analog. The artificial lays upon the organic, you see. So don't look around you and feel that none of this is real. Nature is real. Your nature and my nature is real. You're real and I'm real. We're here. We exist. I am. See? We are is not the same as I am. What creator would say I am? It's pure selflessness. That'd be the last emotion it would feel, let alone state. That was the fucking Demiurge that said that, that did that. You see? It's going to replace what it considers to be the most high, which again is right there in the Bible. If you want to stick to Satan, you can stick to that. What did Satan say? How does the scripture go? Satan wanted to above the Creator, above its throne upon the stars. There's truth in it. There's truth in it. Like I said, there's a lot of lies too. Give me a second. Okay, so to finish and finalise, as I said, try to break out and break away from these practices, you know, of how you should pray and what you should pray for, and you don't need to do this, you don't need to do that. And the practices of the words you use, it's all by design, you know. Your connection's already there. You know it is. I'm sure you feel it is. Or you wouldn't be listening to me right now. You wouldn't be who you are or what you are. You'd be who you're not and what you're not. Stay true, stay pure, stay clean and stay clear. And that's all you need to do. I'm not there, I'm getting there, but I'm not there. You won't be able to perfect it, you don't need to either. It's ongoing and it's outgoing. But there is a difference. Do not be fooled, there is a difference. And all the time that there is, you'll feel different. Because you and I are nothing like that. We're not made in the Demiurge's image, and it's not made in ours. It's made in the Creator's. And it's made itself. It hasn't created itself. But it's tweaked itself. It's found a way of convincing us that the Creator doesn't exist. If that's not evil, if that's not Satan, if that's not the devil, I don't know what is. Love you all. See you in the next one.